So I was always disappointed with the cinnamon roll that I ate. I thought it should be better flavor and it shouldn't be dry. And I want it warm.
What are some realities of a baker?
You have to believe in what you're selling. And I believe so deeply in what we're selling. I truly believe that we have the best cinnamon roll on the market. It's okay to have an unconventional career path.
Seasonality of cinnamon roll consumption.
When you think of a cinnamon roll, it's usually Christmas morning.
What is your favorite thing to bake?
I love the act of pulling something out of the oven. I think that's something that's so nostalgic and satisfying is making your house smell so good. I bake when I'm happy. I bake when I'm sad. I bake when I'm stressed.
How do bakeries set themselves apart? Amy, thanks for coming.
Happy to be here
today. Taking time out of your day, I appreciate it. So you are the owner and founder of the Dough Lady.
Yes.
Tell us. So this whole podcast, what we like to do is just get a understanding of like your history, how you got to where you are, things that led up to that, and then really for any of the listeners or people watching this, it's like if they want to start a bakery, or like what if they wanted to do something, like what are things that they should consider that you've learned along the way? That's like realities, tips, advice, etc.
So many things.
So let's start with your history.
Let's dig into it.
How'd you get here?
I have always loved to bake. It was just something that I've done. I bake when I'm happy. I bake when I'm sad. I bake when I'm stressed. And in 2020, I was stressed. And so I was baking a lot. And my husband, Eric, and I have just always brainstormed side hustles that we could start. We just always thought there's just got to be another way that we can make money other than a 9-to-5. And I've always loved to bake. I've always wanted to own a bakery, and I was stress baking a lot. And he said, it's time to get it out of the house. So we started selling frozen cinnamon roll dough. And there's a lot of other details within that. I mean, you know, we chose cinnamon rolls because it was a niche in the market. We chose cinnamon roll dough because we didn't have a big enough oven to bake it. And we thought, well, we could probably sell the dough and see what we could do there. And so we started in November of 2020, and about 4.5 years later, now we have a storefront.
Wow.
There's a lot of details.
That's cool.
In 2020 to now
Sure.
that we could cover, but
we can dig into that. We can dig into a little. I mean, I know your husband from like an outside of the, like from our work. We both work at the same place at some point in time.
He's the best.
Which now I know why he like goes to the gym. Like if you're baking when you're happy and sad and whatever, I'm like,
no, it's true.
Gotta burn it off.
No, my roommates were always like, "Oh, Amy's baking again. Here we go."
Oh,
okay.
Man. So as far as now, here's a weird question. Like, just out of pure curiosity, before we get into all of it, like, what is your favorite thing to bake, though?
Well, I have a lot. I mean, I always bake the classics. I always come back to the classics. Growing up, we would always make cookies, brownies, and breads.
Yeah.
And that's what I always come back to every single time. If I am looking to make something on a Sunday, I'm probably making some type of like a loaf or a cookie. I just love them. I always crave something that is nostalgic, and those are all nostalgic to me.
Do you have like a go-to recipe that you're like, this is my favorite? Because my wife has like this banana bread.
I was going to say banana bread.
Okay.
Banana bread is just so easy and so good and
good.
warm, and it just is, it's perfect every time.
And you reheat it and just put a little butter on there. It's like,
Oh, it's so good every time. Cookies are a big thing. I love to experiment with different types of cookies, but anything and everything. I just love to bake it all.
So is this something like your parents kind of like instilled in you early and like got you involved at a really young age to just be like, hey, come join us at the oven?
Help mom bake.
Yeah. Growing up, Sundays were they were family days and Sundays were baking days. So every Sunday we would open up the cookbook. Two of my mom's famous sayings are, if you can read, you can cook, and the kitchen is a lab. So that's just kind of what we did. We would open up the cookbook, we'd choose a recipe, and we would just kind of go for it. And we were always, one thing that we always made growing up were brownies. I think that's still my favorite treat to this day, but it's how we grew up. And we just have always loved to bake from a very young age. And I took that with me into college. I always loved to bake. I took that with me post-college. I just was always baking. It's always how I've coped. And I think it's because it's going back to my roots of how I grew up.
Are you like more of the letter of the law, follow the recipe kind of person? Or are you like, I've learned enough now that I like to manipulate it a bit?
Dabble.
Both.
Okay.
I think I love the comfort of just a single recipe, but in my bakery, there's so much experimenting that's going on.
That's cool.
So there can be both.
So you started out probably with following a recipe and then like changing a little bit, adapting.
I'm such a recipe tinkerer. I mean, you combine so many different aspects from recipes, and that's recipes everywhere, right? Like you're combining these ideas. Everything has the same type of a base, but you just kind of find out the texture and what works for you, the taste and things like that. But yeah, I'm a recipe tinkerer for sure.
Okay, and then my last like bakey question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to do while you wait?
Snack on the other things.
Start another thing to then continue making.
I like to finish the brownies I made last time while I make the brownies that I'm making this time.
It's not rocket science.
Drink some milk.
Eat while you bake. Yeah.
No, that's good. And then wash the dishes, right?
That's my least favorite
chores.
part.
I guess that's true.
That's what I hate to do. But
so when you talk about like starting early, you during college, like what were you like focusing on before you decided to do a bakery? Like what was your career path before that?
I worked in marketing for a long time. So at Utah State, I studied public relations and marketing. Out of college, I worked at a PR agency. And then I slowly transitioned into a marketing position. So I worked in communications for a while. I did events. I mean, I think marketing is such a broad word these days.
Broad.
It encompasses so many things. But I specifically did PR and events. And then my last job in the corporate world was brand strategy. So managing a bunch of different marketing channels and things like that. And always in the back of my mind, you know, in the corporate world, you're asked a lot, like, if you weren't doing this specific job, what would be your dream job? Because obviously what you're doing now is your dream job.
Sure.
But, you know, you're kind of gaslit a little bit. To
Of course.
This is what you want to do. But
you love this job.
You love this job.
Yes.
But always in the back of my mind, I thought I want to own a bakery. And I think it's just because that was my biggest hobby. Like, I knew that that's something that could translate maybe into money, I guess. But in the back of my mind, I thought, that's what I want to do. So that's always what I would say in like a team building exercises.
Yeah.
I'd love to own a bakery one day. Had no clue what that entailed. Had no clue how much work that was or how many 3 a.m. mornings I would have. But it's what I've always wanted to do. And I always thought, well, I'm not professionally trained, so I actually don't know how I'm going to do this. Why me? How could I start that?
So what was the thing that essentially like flipped that switch for you? When you went from, I always wish I could do this, to I'm just going to do it and just like take the leap. Because I think a lot of people have those ideas, right? They have like this, they're stuck in a corporate job. They're stuck doing something that they don't like.
Yeah.
And then they try to do their side hustle or their hobby. And it's like taking the plunge from going to the thing you don't like to the thing that you don't know if it's going to make you money, to actually taking that step.
To be honest, it's my husband, Eric. I think none of this would have happened if it wasn't encouraged and supported by Eric. I mean, he does a lot of stuff for the business right now too. He's very much on the back end. He's so good with numbers. He's so good with strategy. But also in addition to that, he is incredible at supporting and encouraging. And I think you have to have somebody in your corner that when you don't actually believe in that, you have somebody who does. And that has 100% been Eric. He is the one from the very beginning that, you know, we had this idea, we were brainstorming. He said, I actually think this can work. And I think you have to have somebody that's in your corner when you don't believe in yourself, saying, no, this is going to be fine. And I think we can make a business out of this, and let's talk this through, and let's try something different. And it's 100% because Eric encouraged me to do this. And I just don't think I would have been brave enough had it not been for him, to be totally honest with you.
Wow.
So
That's
how to
a
chase your
love letter to
dreams.
Eric right there.
Yeah.
No, really.
Chase your dreams. Find a good spouse.
Find a good spouse who can also be your business partner and compliment you with all the things that you're not good at.
Yeah, you got to start interviews while you're dating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me, can I see your resume real quick? Let's take a look at some of the skills you have.
Can this lend to a business in the future?
And it's kind of ironic too that you have found a good way to work with your husband in a business.
Yeah.
Because I think so many people say like, I'll never work with my family in a business, or a lot of that happens, and some of that's like brothers, sisters, parents, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, you see some couples and duos that run a business and they can do it well, right?
Yeah.
You look at like on the extreme far end, like Chip and Joanna Gaines, like they're running a company and they're doing like the food and the houses and whatever else. But you found a way that you and your husband He's the support. He's like the let's go, go,
It
go.
works.
And it works out.
It can work. I also think, we got married in 2020. So immediately from getting married, we were at home together 24/7.
Yeah.
So we were both working from home, and our whole marriage has been having the dough lady. And so we've just kind of like grown with that, I think. And it's not to say like you don't disagree. I mean, Eric and I disagree all the time on business things, but like it just it's worked. He's good at the things that I'm not good at.
So let's start at those early stages then. Okay, you've decided, like you said, you love the baking. You've decided we're gonna do cinnamon rolls.
Doing cinnamon rolls, baby.
And we're gonna decide how we're gonna make this work. And we've said, you know what, my oven's too small. I'm not gonna be able to cook them here. Let's do this. And are they frozen? Is that like the approach that you want to do on them?
We started off with frozen dough. So the biggest thing was, we had a tiny oven, and I love the act of pulling something out of the oven. I think that's something that's so nostalgic and satisfying, is making your house smell so good. And so when we were looking at different ideas, first we were brainstorming. Eric has an amazing salsa recipe, and we thought, well, we could maybe make salsa.
Yeah.
And then botulism exists, and we got a little nervous.
Oh, sure.
About,
Sure.
hurting people. And so I'd been making cinnamon rolls for years and years, and there was nobody in the market that was doing take and bake dough. There's really only one big competitor for take and bake cinnamon roll dough. And
my first thought was like Papa John, isn't that right? They do like take
Yeah.
and bake pizza.
yeah,
right?
they do take and bake pizza.
And they have a
Murphy's.
dessert, but it's
Yeah.
like not like
Yeah.
it's like a cinnamon something.
Yeah, we were just looking at it and we thought, oh, this maybe is a business opportunity, to be honest. And it just frankly was the only way that it could work, because the shelf life was also longer. And because we were offering it online, we didn't have a store for people to come and buy just fresh cinnamon rolls. It was a
Right.
totally different model, because we were all at home, and I think there was like this underground baking movement that was happening where so many people were selling things online. And
during
and
the
selling goods.
COVID.
Yeah, during the shutdown. So we just kind of took that and we thought, well, we could probably sell this online. And my version of success was that we would sell to some family and friends, and I thought that would be awesome. And I can get my baking fix, and this is cool. I think Eric saw the vision because,
He's Eric.
Yeah.
he's Eric and he's amazing at strategy. And I was just like, I'm just a girl who wants to bake. And
He's like, let's scale.
yeah, you have to have someone who has the vision, and he did. But it wasn't this like amazing, well thought out business plan. It was just, let's try it out.
Yeah.
There was no risk.
And for
That's
those who
cool.
don't know, like in Utah, the laws allow you to cook out of your home. I think
Yeah.
what do they call it? Like cottage?
Well,
I
so-
don't remember what the name is.
So something
I
that's
didn't know
interesting
this.
is because I had frozen goods, I didn't qualify under the cottage food
Oh,
act.
really? Okay.
So Utah is unique where it has something called the Home Consumption Act, I think is what it's called. And that just like supports home bakers.
okay.
So you can sell stuff out of your house. And I mean, you have to get a business license, and
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah.
processes you have to go through, but it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's
What's
just
what's this cottage thing?
Well, my understanding was, you can correct me because maybe you know more of this better than I do, but
wow.
my understanding is that you generally, when you sell food to the public, it has to be done in a commercial kitchen that has certain regulations about like how clean it is and the types of devices
An
and
inspected kitchen,
and an
essentially.
inspected,
okay.
Yeah.
So when you cook out of your house, you don't have like nobody's house has those regulations, and people don't come to inspect. But in Utah, they have laws that essentially allow you to, as long as it is very clear that what you're selling was prepared in a non-commercial kitchen.
It's how you label it. It's
Oh,
home
okay.
produced,
Yeah.
essentially. But
Which, as long as you do that, then you're fine. And that's Utah. Not every state has
Right.
laws that
Yeah.
allow you to do that.
yeah,
Interesting.
exactly.
Okay.
So it wasn't hard to start selling it out of the house, and we launched it on Instagram, and we launched it right before Thanksgiving, and it just it kind of blew up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how was those first few weeks?
Well, they were great. We got an order, and I thought, I've done it. This is one. Cool. We're good.
Wait, was your marketing efforts, was it all just word of mouth and Instagram?
That's it. That's fully it. So
Okay.
I have a friend who I credit a lot of the success in the early days. Her name's Rosie Card. She is kind of like she's a Utah influencer, essentially. She has a good
Oh, okay.
Utah following, and she posted about our product. She's always been a champion of women, small businesses.
Sure.
And she posted about our product, and we gained like 1,000 followers overnight. And
Wow.
Eric literally was like, did I break something on Instagram? Like, did I do something? And we saw that she'd posted, and we just started getting orders. And it just kind of built off of that, to be honest. So
That's
much
cool.
of it has been word of mouth. And I mean, I do think it's a good product, and I believe in the product a lot. And so I do credit a lot of it to having a really good product.
Mm-hmm. And then, so the first week you got a few orders. Like what? Like going into that like first few weeks, like was it more than you expected? Was it less than you expected? Was it like consistent? Like tell me a little about like what that first few bits of growth was for you.
Or just like overall expectations, because someone's watching this and they're like, I want to start a cookie, maybe in Utah might be something baked goods, a brownie company, say,
whatever.
And they're like, what can I expect as like the first X amount of days or weeks or months as like okay? Not to say that you're the baseline, but
Sure.
like, what was your experience on to like?
Yeah.
It's a slow burn. I think a lot of it in the early days was just figuring out like the schedule of things. I mean, I think we got lucky, to be honest. I think it's a lot of like we got lucky with a great social media following at the beginning, and we got lucky that a lot of people were willing to share about it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that's combined with a lot of hard work and consistency. I think we just kept showing up week over week, regardless of if we were getting a ton of orders or not. But I think we were so consistent in posting about it and like trying to market it and boosting some posts on Instagram here and there. And I think the baseline is probably going to be a slow burn. And I think we started it at a good time because cinnamon rolls are, when you think of a cinnamon roll, it's usually Christmas morning is you're thinking of a cinnamon roll.
Okay.
And so we started it, a month before Thanksgiving, kind of a slow burn up to there.
Yeah.
And then the Christmas season hits, and we've seen this year over year, it explodes.
Wow. Okay.
That's cool.
Christmas is so insane. I mean, it's like the Super Bowl times 10 for cinnamon rolls is what Christmas is for us.
Seasonality of cinnamon roll consumption.
I didn't know that.
There's a huge seasonality of it, and starting it before the holidays was smart. And I think like it got a lot of hype at the beginning, and it got a lot of hype on social media. So I think also, I don't know, I had no shame in posting about it and soliciting to friends and family, and you just have to be consistent with it.
I actually don't think Christmas when I think cinnamon rolls.
Really?
I actually think.
When do you think of it?
Actually, I think of like school lunches. There was
like
our
the
school
major
lunches, and I don't know.
huge cinnamon roll.
We in our age there was like I think like regionally the schools were a little more had a little more freedom to kind of like make their own menus or whatever. But where we grew up, Colton and I, there was the school had this cinnamon roll that was just like huge, and it was just
amazing.
Like fluffy. I actually want to know who the person was that made it because I have never been able to like replicate or get a cinnamon roll that I feel like is even close to what my memory tells me. But it could be nostalgia. But I think that's
also
what I think
nostalgia.
school. Yeah, I think
nostalgia
school.
Place.
Well, and then there was that place next to our high school, the Pie Dump.
Oh yeah. Did they have cinnamon rolls?
I think they had a cinnamon roll. I know they had like the big, massive rolls, but
Yeah.
I think that they did cinnamon rolls.
They probably
once in a while.
did.
I don't know.
Anyway, but no, that's interesting though to hear because that was not my first thought. My first thought was not Christmas. So to hear that they're like apparently everybody else's thought is
We
Christmas.
learned that. I mean, we didn't have a huge business plan going into it. It was like, I just want to bake on the side. Like I want a little side gig to be able to like get my baking fix. I was always disappointed with the cinnamon roll that I ate. I thought it should be better flavor and it shouldn't be dry. And I want it warm. And Take and Bake Dough did that for us.
Well, so did you have to get some sort of like confirmation from friends and family that your cinnamon roll was good enough to commercialize? Or like, because it's all subjective, right?
Yeah.
You bake something, it's like, this is delicious. And you give it to your friends.
And
like,
some people lie to you.
Yeah, and some people
lie to you. Lie for sure. But no, I mean, I've been sharing baked goods for my whole life. And so it was a very natural process of, hey, I made some cinnamon rolls. Can you tell me honestly what you think? And I'm very particular when I eat just treats in general. Like I want it to be really good. Yeah. So I feel like I had a good sense of what actually is good because that was always my beef is I would have a cinnamon roll and I thought I can do it better than this.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather make this because I don't want to spend the money to buy this. This is not good. But yeah, I did have some taste testers in the early days and it was a lot of fun. I hope they liked it. They told me they liked it, and then we started a business off of it.
Yeah,
so
something's true.
I think they liked it.
Whether they like it or not, you're the one that has come out on top. So.
Yeah, we're making a lot of cinnamon rolls now. So
let's talk. Let's see what would you say were like the biggest challenges as you're getting through that first early bit? I know you mentioned a little bit about scheduling. It's like one of the things you had to kind of like get into emotion for.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, you would say these were the hardest things that we had to go through, or these were the biggest hurdles.
I think scaling anything that's so physical is hard. I think anybody will tell you if they're making a product, like the scaling of it and figuring out how to make that in bulk is the hardest part. And that's something that's been a consistent hurdle throughout this entire process. But I think, before I had a small KitchenAid mixer and I knew that I could make like 16 cinnamon rolls at a time out of that. And so figuring out like the math of, okay, somebody ordered a 4-pack of cinnamon roll dough. I have X amount of these. I think it's just like figuring out the schedule of the baking of it because also cinnamon rolls it's a yeast product. So you're rising it. So you have to time out, okay, I'm making a batch of dough and then I'm going to let this rise and then I'm going to roll it out. But in between that, I'm going to start another one. So this can rise when I'm rolling this one out. So it was just, it was a lot of trial and error. And I think just scaling something that is so time intensive. I joke a lot that I think I chose the most time intensive product to make a business out of. Like jokes on me because I've spent so many hours making cinnamon rolls. And thankfully it was dough. Like thankfully I didn't have to bake it.
Oh yeah, that's an extra
stop at a certain process.
30 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, it's
so
time intensive.
How many KitchenAids do you own, or did you own at the peak of at home?
Well, let me tell you the process of my mixers. So I had a KitchenAid, and KitchenAids aren't really built for a heavy dough.
Sure.
So I moved to a Bosch mixer.
Okay.
I broke that Bosch mixer about 5 times because there's a little tiny part in it that if you get too much heavy dough in there, it breaks off and then it doesn't mix anymore. So eventually I thought, oh no, I think I have to get a big heavy duty guy.
Like one of those commercial big ones.
A 20 quart. Yeah. And we bought it. It was our first big investment into the business.
Okay.
And it sat in the corner for a couple days. When it got delivered, I honestly had a panic attack.
You're just like, oh no.
I literally went and laid down. I was like, I'm not doing well. I'm sweating. I'm like, actually think I'm going to pass out. It was kind of the turning point in the business that I thought, oh, I can't go back. Like this is huge. It's a stand. It was on like a small metal table in the corner of my kitchen. And at that point, we had replaced our kitchen table with 2 commercial metal tables.
Yeah.
And so that was the point where it was taking over the kitchen, and it just got to a point where it wasn't working in the Bosch, and I knew I needed to upgrade equipment.
Yeah.
And
just staring at you from the corner.
It was
all
just
the time.
staring at me, and I was so scared. And I think that's been such a huge theme of this whole business is I'm so scared. And if you're scared too, that's fine. And again, this is where Eric comes into play. He's like, okay, we're going to unbox this. We're going to get this going. We can do this. Everything's fine. Just get back up. We're going to be okay. But, the buying of equipment, I still cry when I buy equipment. I just panic bought a 60-quart mixer this past holiday season. And the salesman, it was because my other mixer was breaking a little bit, and we were trying to manage the demand of this past holiday season at the store. And the salesman says, okay, do you want to buy it? And I started to tear up, and I said, I've got to take a lap really quick. And then yes, because you're essentially buying a car at that point.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot more money than a 20 quart, but
yeah,
it's always scary.
You said 60?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's definitely.
It's a big guy.
That's like I don't even know.
Are those ones that you can like hug?
Yes. Oh, it lives in the bakery now. It's never coming out. So
yeah. I worked at a pizza place one time ago. I think that's the size that we have.
Yeah.
You basically dump bags of flour in it.
Oh yeah. No, it's huge.
Crazy.
It's a big guy.
My wife and I, we love food. We like to find little places around the valley and like, hey, let's try this out. Let's try this out. Bakeries. What are some realities of a baker that someone needs to like, if I'm going to start a bakery, this is what I need to realize. You've mentioned already early mornings.
Oh, yeah.
by observation, when we go to like somewhere that has baked goods, it's like they're open at like 6 a.m. until sellout. And it's like, why do bakeries do that? I think I can assume that they just don't want to work all day to do that. But like, what's the reason there?
Well, the first thing is when you think of a bakery, you see like so many Hallmark movies of how cute and like glamorous it is to own a bakery. You know, the owner just like pops in and it's just you're selling some cute treats. And it's the most unglamorous thing I've ever done. Like, let's talk about cleaning the grease trap and mopping the floors and being covered in flour and powdered sugar, just explosions. But early mornings are a big one. I think I had no clue how much work this was to do. I have worked so many hours. I can't even describe how much hard work it is to own a bakery. So that's definitely a huge misconception. I think bakeries are open until they sell out because managing demand is so hard. Like we're not getting RSVPs. I have no idea how many people are going to show up. That was a really hard thing about opening the store this past December was we just had no clue what the demand was going to be. We knew that it would do well because, again, it's the seasonality of cinnamon rolls, so opening in December. But deciding how much to bake every day is so hard, and you don't want to overbake. And so that's why people go until they sell out, is because you're picking a certain amount and you're prepping it so many days in advance, and then you're baking it that morning. Because also, I don't believe in dry cinnamon rolls, so we're not selling day olds. We're not doing that. So that's why people go till sellout, because also it's a time intensive product. So if we start to sell out 2 hours until close, I can't bake more. It's going to take us the full 2 hours to be able to pull those out and bake those too.
Right. As you're talking, it's like you can plan for how much you're going to make, and then it forces people to essentially generate that demand for you in a window, and you can look forward to like, if we're done.
Yeah.
Cool.
I got some advice early on that said, as we were opening the store, that was like, people will bend to your hours. Like, you get to set those. You don't have to be open all the time, because it's too hard to manage a fresh product to be open at all hours of the day. I think some baked goods lend to that. Cinnamon rolls just don't. And so setting your own schedule, and I think too, like, we were doing that from the early days anyway, because we were online, so we would do pop-ups. And so we would only be, we popped up at Jolly's Corner a lot, and we would only be there on Saturdays from 10 until 1. And so it was kind of also like trained in our customer base that like, we have a set amount of time that you can come and get rolls. If you're not there, you're probably just not going to get it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Did you find that scarcity helped?
Yeah. Yeah. I think,
with the strategy.
It would just like strategy, demand, execution, whatever it may be.
I think maybe a lot of people are looking at, I don't know, all of the sellouts and like the hype around it. And I'm not creating that hype. It really is the customers who are driving that demand and who are driving that hype. I'm just simply posting that we've sold out, like we're out again. But yeah, I do think scarcity, it makes people want it more because they can't get it. But also, I mean, now because we have the store, it is easier to get, but it still is like luck of the draw. Are you going to get it? Are we going to have enough? And I think it's like a double-edged sword. Like, you want to have enough. You want to be open until you say you're going to close, but you just don't want to overplan.
So you have different products. How did you decide to make those products? Was it customer feedback, or is it something that you just experimented with?
We just experimented. So we started off with just cinnamon rolls for November. And then in December, we thought, well, orange rolls are nostalgic for Christmas. So I'm going to test an orange roll. And then past that, we were watching a documentary with the founder of Milk Bar. And she's famous for like these wild flavors. And she bakes a lot with cereal. And my husband and I looked at each other and we thought, I think we could do a Fruity Pebble roll. That could be crazy, but let's try it out. So we just then from there just started to tinker so much, and we would have so many test days. And even to this day, we have test days in the kitchen. We actually just had one this past week. All the staff comes and we have the best time just testing different flavors. There are a lot that work, and there are so many that don't work. And there's so many things in between that like we have to have so many different iterations of it to get there.
Yeah. Because you're like, it's close.
It's so close.
And then you have to be like, what do I do to it to make it better?
So, for example, we have been trying to make a s'mores roll work for years. And this last test day, we're so close.
Oh. Nice.
We're not there, but we're so close. And I'm very particular about what goes on the menu. if I'm not obsessed with it, it
It doesn't go.
it doesn't make it. But that also, I think, was something that was really fun in the early days that also drove like hype and demand is we would have these limited edition flavors and it would be available for a week or for a month.
Right.
And so, it lended to the hype of it, but we just have continually tested. We're still improving recipes that, different flavors that we've made for years that we think, oh, maybe we could switch this a little bit. But we have a bank of like 50 flavors that we've made.
Oh, cool.
We also have a bank of probably 100 that didn't work at all. But
Right.
it's so fun to test, and I think it's such a fun offering to have a rotating menu.
That's really cool. We've had a previous guest, and she talked about how they got to a point in growing their company that like tasting a food and then being able to essentially like, I know how to turn this into a cookie. It's like, that's such a weird skill to have.
Yeah,
Well, like probably
it is.
for you, it's like,
Yeah.
I can take this food and then turn it into a cinnamon roll.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's such a fun part of the job too.
Yeah.
We used to just walk up and down the aisles of the grocery store and look at ingredients and think, how could we incorporate this into a cinnamon roll? And what's different about our cinnamon rolls is the dough base is all the same. So the dough is completely the same. It's the fillings that are all different, or the frostings that are a little bit different. It's made it, I guess, a little bit easier to scale those products.
Yeah.
But it's been so fun to test. We have the best time testing.
How did you decide? So you just opened a location not too long ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
How did you decide your first location? Going from your home to some building, like what were some things that you had to consider in order to choose that?
Yeah, and I'm curious to expand on that a bit more. It's like, one is like, what was the inflection point when you decided that we needed a place?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then how you decided like where we're going to put it and whatever else that you thought of when you were getting into
And
it.
staff, getting
Yeah.
more people.
Yeah.
Oh man. I think there's always a point, regardless of the business, that you kind of hit this point where you need to grow. So there was a point in the early days where it was out of my house and it was consistently getting busier, and we knew that we had to move it into a commercial kitchen. And then from there, we knew that we had to move it into a bigger one. And we've just grown with the demand that's come. So we've just simply been saying yes to the demand. We have not put a ton of money into marketing dollars. We haven't. It's very organically grown to this point.
Sure.
It's worked online for a lot of years. I think had we continued online, it would have continued to work. I think the path to scaling, and what Eric and I consistently talked about, is the path to scaling is storefronts, just because the accessibility is so much easier for somebody if they're just like popping in to get something. Because before it was all pre-order, or you just had one day where people could come and get fresh rolls at our pop-ups. So I think it was always in the back of our minds that we knew that we could do a storefront. I always said we're only going to do a storefront if all of the stars align, because I knew it would be a lot of work. I didn't know it was going to be this much work, if I'm being honest. I mean, ignorance is bliss.
It
in
is.
so many in so many aspects of life, but especially in business. It's maybe good to not know what you're getting yourself into, but this was like 4 months after we'd had our first baby, Jude, and a bakery that I knew of closed. And I reached out to her, and this was probably postpartum, just delusion.
Yeah.
And I said, is anybody taking over your lease? And she put me in contact with the landlord, and we went and saw it. It all happened so organically. And we went and saw it, and I turned to Eric and I said, oh no. I said, I think this is it, because we'd been looking at spaces for years.
Sure.
So we had been, early on we thought maybe we could do it now, and it never felt right.
Yeah. What were like what were those stars that you were saying? When you say the stars aligning for you, what was that? Just like
Gut feelings.
Okay.
To be totally honest, I think something that you have to do in a business is just trust your gut. And we saw so many spaces, and it just didn't feel right. It felt so out of reach with the cost of some of the spaces that it just felt like it would never work. And we saw this place, and it was just within, I guess, we finally started to piece together the numbers that worked.
Yeah.
And the business was finally at a point where we also, like staffing, we felt pretty confident with people that we had, and we were hiring more and more. And so it also came with like a, I guess, reassurance that we had help to do it. Because before, when we were looking at storefronts, it was literally me and Eric still. And I think we maybe had one employee who is amazing, obviously, but it's not enough to open a store. And so I guess we were just at a point where to grow, we knew that we needed to take another leap of faith. And so we did that. And it was very scary. And it still is.
Still scary.
Still scary. It's
I
working
wake up
out so far.
scared every day.
I was going to say today, as of today, you've been open for how long?
About 4 months.
Okay. Yeah. So still early.
Yeah.
What does family time balance bakery look like?
I think that every working mom will tell you that being a working mom is the hardest thing they've ever done. I'm a year into it, and I just want to kiss the feet of every working mom that I've ever known in my life, because the balance of it is so hard, and having your time split is so hard. And I have a very unconventional schedule. And so I've been able to bring Jude along to a lot of it. Jude is our little 1-year-old. And I feel very lucky that I can just kind of bring him along to my workplace, but it's getting to a point where the balance of that is really hard. But going back to Eric being so supportive, he bends his schedule as needed. I mean, and we have an amazing nanny too. And I think like you just need to have a lot of support when you are trying to balance a family too.
Sure.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And I genuinely don't know that I have any good advice for any working moms other than I think we're going to be okay.
You guys got this.
Yeah, but
superheroes.
It's one thing that has been so fun about this is to do it as a family. I mean, I like get teary-eyed thinking that Jude is going to have memories of this bakery growing up, because, you know, we signed a pretty long lease. And so he probably will have some memories of this space. And it's so fun that Eric and I get to do it together. I mean, we're there on the weekends as a family. It's very much a family-run business, and it's fun to be able to create memories together, but balance doesn't really exist in that. And this is also where my staff comes into play. I have so much help staffing wise. They are amazing and incredible, and they make it possible that, you know, I can bring Jude, but also like they pick up that extra slack, because I can't do a ton when I have a little baby in tow all the time.
Sure. I think that's a common theme with a lot of our guests. It's not like, I kind of asked that question a little bit rhetorical, but at the same time, it's interesting just to hear your perspective from not necessarily a mother's standpoint, but just like as a business owner, like how all this works in general. But there's a common theme that like every person who's come on, it's like that's their passion, right? It's very much a family. It's a whole thing. It's not like I have this hobby, it's just me, and then I figure it out with my family. It's like I do this thing and my wife is involved, or my husband is involved, or my kids are involved. And it's like, it's very much a unified effort.
Do it together.
It's just your whole life blended together. I mean, the bakery is our whole life, honestly. And it's, it is really fun to do it together.
Well, hopefully it turns into your legacy too, right?
Yeah, we hope. Yeah. You do have to have a passion for it though. I mean, your tolerance for work is so much higher when it's your own thing. Yeah. And I mean, if I had to work this much and I was working for, you know, a corporate company, I would not be doing this. This wouldn't be a family effort if this were a corporate job. Sure. And there is something that's so special about it being such a family endeavor. And I feel really grateful. But you do have to have a pretty high work tolerance, and it is a lot of working at night. It is a lot of working during nap time. It's just the coordination of it is crazy.
What's kind of the dark side, like the things under the rocks? You flip over the rocks and it's like, what are the things that, like, I know you touched on this a little bit, right? It's not as glamorous, but like, are there other things that people need to understand and really look at? Like, this is something that just isn't talked about.
I think, I mean, going back to ignorance is bliss, like ignorance really is bliss. It just is a lot of work. It's so manual. It's so hard to scale something that's manual. You have to have so much grit. And I think had I known how much work this is, would I have done it? Maybe. But also, like, you take a look at your worst days just in general in life, and would you choose that? Probably not. But I mean, you have to have a lot of grit, because a lot of things are going to come at you. And I think the dark side of it is just how many hours it is. It doesn't go away. You don't get to come home at 5 p.m. and turn it off. You come home at 5 p.m. and you still have a full list of things to do, and no one else is going to do those except for you, because you're the one that's running it. And there's always work to be done. Turning it off is so impossible. You have to find a balance of, and I'm trying to find that now. I think opening the store, it just was so much more than we ever, which is such a great problem to have. I mean, the demand was so much more. Customers just really showed up for us, but you have to find a work-life balance somehow during that. And I think the dark side is how many hours it is.
Yeah.
And it's not going to get done unless you do it. Or, I mean, I have an amazing staff, but if I mess up on the scheduling, I'm coming in.
Sure.
Yeah,
you got to pick up that slack.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this a little bit, like going back to a younger you, would you do this again? I kind of want to touch on that a little bit more. Like, what would be either like pieces of advice, or maybe even just go into the question of, would you do this again if you were younger and knew all the things that you know now?
I would do it again, to be honest. I mean, this has been the most fulfilling and amazing thing I've ever done in my life. Mm-hmm. I think growing up for me, I've always had an aversion to entrepreneurship. I think it's just because we grew up in a little bit of scarcity.
Yeah,
sure.
And I think I would tell myself that it's okay to have an unconventional career path. I think you're taught, especially maybe our generation, we're taught from a younger age, like you graduate high school and then you go to college and then you get a 9-to-5 job, and that's what you do forever.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just found myself thinking, forever?
Yeah.
Really? Like, I have to sit at a desk forever?
Right.
And I just, again, I was scared because I had this aversion to entrepreneurship because it lended itself to instability. Mm-hmm. And I've craved stability from such a young age. And I think it's okay to not know what's coming next in a career. And I think it's okay to take a leap of faith. So I think maybe that's what I would tell my younger self. I think that's also what I'm telling myself now too.
Okay.
to make it through it.
Yeah. By younger, you mean 5 months ago?
Yeah, no, really. I mean, I also think like it's okay to be scared. I think that's such a theme throughout this whole process is I've been so scared the whole time, and I don't have it figured out. I mean, there are so many things that I don't know, but nobody really knows. And you look at any entrepreneur and they didn't know all the answers going into it. And Eric and I certainly don't have all the answers going to this. There's so many things of scaling a business that we don't know how to do. And I often feel like I'm starting at ground zero with all of these issues or problems that we have to figure out. But I also have to remind myself that people do this and people make a career path out of entrepreneurship. And it's okay to have something that's unconventional. This is very unconventional. I did not imagine my life going like this, but I couldn't be happier that it is. It's been so fulfilling. I mean, people are so nice. You wouldn't believe how nice the customers are and the community's been. It's so fulfilling and great.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
And early on in our conversation, you started talking about like mixers and the KitchenAid and Bosch and stuff. Where do you go to get large industrial baked things? Like, I think like Orson Geeky, but like,
oh no, you go
like
there to
bigger?
buy fun stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like fun ingredients, but there are equipment places everywhere. Well, not everywhere. There's a few places in Salt Lake that you can go to that sell large equipment, I guess. There's like 3 that I've purchased from, and you just call them up and tell them what you need, and
they'll send a guy.
They'll send a guy. They'll send you links. It's so much money. Equipment is so scary to buy, but there's places.
But like,
we've learned some things.
Like how much? Like, let's put like a range, a price tag of things.
I'll tell you anything you want to know.
On equipment. Like what could someone expect to say? Like, I want to do a bakery. I've got feedback that I do good stuff, or I produce great, tasty goods. And now I want to figure out like my Bosch or KitchenAid is broken. Like, what should
I be expecting?
Yeah, or what should they save up for?
We didn't really save up for anything because again, I just got in this to sell to some family and friends.
Yeah.
So, but We haven't purchased equipment until we've absolutely needed to.
Sure.
And maybe that's a downfall. I don't know, but equipment lends itself to scaling. And so you have to upgrade eventually. But let's see. The 60 quart mixer that I bought, they're $25,000 new.
Goodness.
I bought it for $10,000, which is a deal.
Yeah. Sounds
Wow.
like
Which
it.
is crazy, but I panic bought a car is what I bought. And
Yeah.
there's just a lot of expenses. I mean, metal tables are a few $100s. Ovens, I spent, I don't know, $15,000 on.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of big expense. Freezers.
Oh, right.
Sure,
'cause
yeah.
yours
Yours
is
is cold.
frozen.
Yeah, I've paid a lot of money in freezers,
Mhm.
thousands of dollars, but we've just kind of grown with it. So if somebody's starting out a bakery, you're not going to buy this equipment at the get-go.
Right.
You're just not, unless you're opening a storefront from the get-go. Then obviously you have to invest in some equipment. But
Sure.
I think we got lucky with how we started it. It worked. We started it really small. We started with what we had. We already had a KitchenAid and we already had a Bosch. It was after those had just kept breaking that we needed to make investments. And that's kind of how we've built the whole business, is we've just grown with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've purchased equipment that we've needed because we've seen the demand for it. And so in a lot of ways, we've played it really safe. I mean, we were online for 4.5 years before we opened a storefront, and we grew as customers kept coming.
That was really kind of like your test of the market, to be like, yeah, we definitely know this is. It's not just our friends and family who's buying it and just like being nice to us.
We have a lot of strangers on the internet buying this, so I think maybe it's proof of concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had 4.5 years of a proof of concept before we finally took the leap. And I also think it's okay to go slow.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to scale extremely fast if you don't want to. I've always really believed in the product, and I knew from the start that we had a good product, and so I knew that we could kind of grow with it.
So when you think of your advice that you would give to somebody else who wanted to go down a similar path, what would you tell them?
Depends on the day.
Oh, okay.
No.
She's stressed out and she has to buy something. Don't do it.
No, I think food, I'm not going to lie, it's a hard business to be in. Margins are tricky. You need to know your margins. You need to know exactly how much it costs you to make this baked good so that you can have a good enough margin to be able to keep going.
Yeah, for pricing it accordingly.
Yeah,
right?
for pricing accordingly. If you're starting out, it's probably just going to be you, but as you add staff, that impacts your margin too.
Oh, sure.
And so you just have to be really good with the numbers throughout the whole process. This is where Eric comes in. I am so bad at math. I just wanted to bake, but he is so good at numbers and he can price that out.
Yeah.
And so you have to know how much things cost you. That's like first piece of advice if somebody's going to start out. You can't just willy-nilly price something out because you're going to go under pretty fast if that happens. But
especially if you're buying $15,000, $20,000 mixers.
Yeah. And I mean, food is great too because there wasn't a huge upfront cost for us. There wasn't a ton of risk for us getting into it. If you're starting a product business, there's a lot of risk because you have probably minimums you have to hit to buy a certain amount of product that you hope sells.
Yeah.
But food is a little tricky. Also, you don't have to have everything figured out to start. I think we spend so much time trying to figure out like, what should I do? What business should I start? And I think you just have to try something. You don't have to have a full business plan to get into something. You can just figure it out as you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we did. I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs do. And I think you have to know that you have a really good product. You have to believe in your product. I've believed in the product from day one. Have I always believed in myself? No, not really. But that's also Enter Eric. That's also where your support comes in.
Right.
I mean, I have so many friends too who have encouraged this on, like, and there's so many people, strangers in my DMs who are encouraging me that don't even know me. And it's so, I don't know, a support community is so important if you're starting something out, but you have to believe in what you're selling. And I believe so deeply in what we're selling. I truly believe that we have the best cinnamon roll on the market. It's the best cinnamon roll I've ever tasted.
Yeah.
And we've also received validation from other people that is, but I believe in it. So that makes it really easy to market because I know that it's good. I'm not iffy. I don't think it's like kind of good today. I don't know. I know that we have a good cinnamon roll.
Yeah.
And I want people to come and try it. And I love to share that. So you have to have a passion for what you're doing. If you don't, then it's never going to work because, again, like the grit comes into play. You're not going to have enough grit to go after something that you're not passionate about. That's why the corporate world didn't work for me.
Yeah.
It just, I
No
wasn't.
passion.
Yeah, I wasn't loving it. And now I genuinely love what I do. I can't believe that I get to wake up and I get to bake and I have this space and I have a place that I can share it with people. It honestly is all that I've wanted to do.
That's awesome.
One of the questions is that I like to ask is what motivates you, but that kind of in a roundabout way sounds like the motivation itself. What's been kind of like the funnest part about all of this and starting this company, all through the stresses and the worry and the, did we make enough? Did we not make enough? Are we like open long enough? Are we going to make enough money? What does this look like for my family? All this stuff. What's like the funnest thing that you've experienced so far?
It's so fun to reminisce and look back on the early days of Eric and I just like baking out of our
Just
kitchen.
the two of you?
Just the two of us.
At
just
3 a.m.
Yes, no, really. I mean, figuring it out and like just doing it together. I think it's not even like one specific memory. It's just the overall, like Eric and I have built this together and we've done it together and we have so many memories of the weekends of going to pop-ups or doing the farmer's market or like sitting down and talking about what our like dreams and hopes are for this. And I just think the aspect of doing it with somebody that you also love is just so fun and fulfilling. And there have been a lot of fun moments in it where we've gone to pop-ups and there's been a line that's wrapped around the building, and it's just in those moments where you look at each other and you think, oh, I think we've done something. Like, this is so cool that we've created this. And I think the funnest part too is just the community. People are so nice, and people will come into the store and they'll say, my grandma used to make cinnamon rolls, and these are the only thing that's come close to reminding me of her. Like,
that's cool.
People share the most. It can make me cry. It makes me cry every time. People share the most special moments of why they're gathering over these cinnamon rolls and where they're bringing them. And, if their friend's having a hard day, then they're, why am I so emotional about it? They're passing it along. Like, it's cool to see the reach of what sugar does for people. And like, they're doing it in celebrations too. And now they have Saturday traditions where, this past winter especially, they said, oh, we go up skiing early in the morning and then we're coming down to the dough lady. And it just is fun to be part of that and to just have a community that has rallied around this wild concept of frozen cinnamon roll dough, who used to buy it out of our house and now they're coming to the storefront. So many people have told me too, we used to come to your house and we used to pick this up, which like the trust of strangers to just like
come to your house.
Come to your house.
Yeah.
Just knock on your door. Eventually I said, I'll meet you outside. Right. But like, I don't know, the full circle moments of we used to buy out of your house and now we can come to this years later has been, it's just fun. All of it just has felt fun. There's obviously hard times, but the overarching theme is that this is so fun. I can't believe we get to do it.
That's cool.
It's crazy to think about the idea that like there are children who are potentially going to grow up and you are going to be a memory of theirs.
Yeah.
They're going to have, they'll be like, oh no, I remember this store. I remember this thing. This is like, my family used to do this.
Yeah.
And to be part of a tradition, like unintentional consequence.
It's so special.
Yeah.
Someone came in recently and he said, I grew up in a bakery. My parents owned a bakery for my whole life. And I was like, did you love it? Like, please, is Jude going to be a
Did you turn out okay? How's your mental health?
What's your trauma? No, but it just, I mean, it is exciting to think about maybe one day Jude actually will work in the bakery and his cousins will too, or just, I don't know. Everything about it just feels so family oriented and fun. And it just has been, it's been a crazy journey. I honestly can't believe we're still here. Yeah. I just wanted to bake. I just wanted to get a baking fix, and people just really rallied around that.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. Are there things or topics that you wanted to talk about that we haven't brought up, or questions that we haven't asked yet?
Maybe the transition of online to a store, or like the unexpected things of a store. Yeah. I just barely thought of that, so I don't even know if I have an answer.
Yeah.
But
so thinking about, well, you're thinking like, okay, so I have the online thing, and then now I'm moving into a storefront. I
Yeah.
mean, that feels like a huge shift to go from
It was.
like, did you have to like shut down for a week to like move things over and be like, now we're doing things here, or like how long was training beforehand, and like
It's just been the most
you have a
crazy
ribbon
timeline.
cutting, you know? I don't know.
So do you not allow online order, like, or are
We
you only in store?
we're only in store right now
Oh, okay.
except for the holidays. So we've done a few
Oh.
pre-orders. Pre-orders logistically, like from the back end, are really time intensive and hard because you should see the Excel spreadsheet. Enter and Eric
Again, yes.
he built it out for me of my prep sheet of the math of planning
Yeah.
for all these different flavors is insane. And like figuring out how many batches we can do per day, figuring out what our max is based on the mixer and based on how many people we have staffed is
Mm-hmm.
insane. And we had it figured out from an online level. So we had that system figured out. We nailed pre-orders.
Yeah.
We knew the schedule for if we dropped a pre-order this day, we could close them this day because we had deliveries and then we had pickups.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you had the hard numbers. You had
We
everything.
had
in
the
front of
hard
you.
numbers.
Yeah.
We could figure that out. We completely nailed that process. Enter in a store where there's so much variation of we have frozen dough that we're planning for, and then we're also planning fresh rolls. But within that, you're planning the different flavors of that. So
Right.
there's a ton of math that's going into that. It really has, the biggest thing is just figuring out our capacity. We've like 5x'd our staffing hours since being online.
Mm.
Probably like that's a small guess,
Yeah.
but
Sure.
we went from I think 7 employees when we opened the store. We now have 17.
Wow.
Oh wow.
So scaling from an online to like we knew what to expect because people were ordering that exact amount,
Right.
to then moving into a store that is so variable has been so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, figuring out what to make every day has been so hard. And luckily I have a staff that just has taken this all with such a positive attitude and intelligence and grace. And I mean, they're helping me figure it out too. Yeah, the training of it too is difficult. I mean, we've obviously hired on a lot of people, and cinnamon rolls take a while to train. And it is what it is. So it takes a few weeks, a few months to get up to the speed that we need it to be. And so working on efficiency, and there's so many things that I didn't think about
Mm-hmm.
when opening a store. It's all time intensive is what
Yeah.
it is. But just planning for the unknown is what I feel like I'm doing every week. I don't know how many people are coming.
Right.
We have a little bit of data to show us how many people are coming, but I think that will come over time. So maybe by the time that this airs, I have it nailed down.
Yes.
Yeah.
But figuring out the operations of a store has been so hard, and making systems and putting systems in place has
Right.
been so hard.
And I would imagine consistency too, right? You've been to places
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, this is really good, and
Yeah.
then you go and then you bring your friends, like,
Yeah.
it actually isn't that good.
It wasn't as good
It
as
was
I
good,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah. Consistency is a huge thing. And because so many different people are involved in the making of this product, that's a good thing. So, but consistency, like just baking wise, like our morning bakers, consistency there is huge. If you overbake it, it's dry. If you underbake it, it's doughy. So you have to nail the bake of that. You have to nail the making of it. You have to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So the coordination of like getting the information out to everybody is something that I'm learning and
Yes.
working
Yeah.
on. And again, I have a lot of help in it, and I have a lot of really good people on my side that are helping with that.
How many days are you open now? Are you?
We're open Wednesday through Sunday,
Oh wow. Okay.
but we have people there every single day.
But when you
prepping.
started, when you first opened,
Oh,
you were not open that same. Was that the schedule you had the first time you
yeah.
opened?
Well, we did a few soft opens before.
Mm-hmm.
So we were open like one day, but I mean, we have people there 7 days a week that are prepping dough.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's a huge production.
Is there
Wild.
a world outside of holidays that you get to a point of scaling and you're able to take online orders and storefront all at once?
I hope so. That's also something we're figuring out is, should we incorporate online orders again? Again, the logistics of that are just crazy.
Yeah.
I think logistics of having so many different streams of revenue, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Combining that into a prep sheet is really hard.
Gotcha.
It's just, again, it's the coordination. I think the coordination of having a storefront has been the hardest thing.
How do bakeries set themselves apart?
Well,
From so Utah, very well known for cookies, right? There's a
Sugar.
lot of cookie companies.
There
Sugar,
are.
yes. There's a lot of cookie companies that are like they've found a way to do their cookie the best, and some have succeeded, some have fallen off, whatever. With cinnamon rolls, I feel like that you mentioned earlier that there's not like a like take and bake type of situation or solution for people, and that's kind of like that was your entry, and now you have a storefront. People can buy fresh cinnamon rolls there and also take some home as well. But like, what would be some recommendations on someone starting a bakery? How do they set themselves apart from their competitors?
I think product, first and foremost, sets you apart. So you have to have a really good product, I think. But more than that too, I feel like heart and soul also is like a component of that. I hope that people feel all the love that goes into our product. I hope that people, when they walk into our bakery, they feel like they are loved and they are welcome and anybody can come.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just an overall experience, maybe. Like you want to go into a place and you want to feel like you're part of a community when you go in there. And maybe this sounds wildly cheesy, but I hope that we get regulars and I hope that we know their name and I hope that we can ask about their family. And I think maybe the heart and soul sets us apart a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that people feel the love when they come in there. And that's also in hiring. You know, I hope that the people that we hire can express that as well. And so far they have. They've done an amazing job. But as we look to scale too, like I don't want 500 stores because I think that you lose that a little bit.
Sure.
And I think that if we are to scale and if we are to do more stores, then I want that feeling to make its way over to that store too. I want the product to be the same. I want it to be consistent and I want it to be really good. And that's something that's hard as you scale, is to keep that consistent. But I also want the feeling of coming into the bakery to feel the same where you go. And I think maybe that's something that could set somebody apart.
I think your comment of like cheesy, like, oh, I made this. What's grandma's recipe? It's like, oh, she made it with love. It's like, oh, that's so nice. Oh, it's so cheesy. But at the same time, it's like also true.
Yes,
right?
It's true.
You want to be able to, like what you're talking about earlier with your son, Jude. Jude, right?
Yeah.
That like having him and cousins and whoever else grow up to be able to really connect with a community.
Mm-hmm.
I think a few of our guests, and you're no exception here, have mentioned that community is a big part of your business's success,
It is.
especially with baked goods.
Yeah. I think being able to connect with your customer is so important. And I think we've gathered a pretty decent social media following, and connecting with them and like connecting with them in person is important. And I think, I come from a marketing background. I come from a brand background. So doing that wasn't, it was very natural for me to do that. And it was very natural for me to try to reach out and connect with people. And, I think, cinnamon rolls are nostalgic too. So you want that feeling of nostalgia and warmth and gooiness and love in something that you're eating. I think it can be bigger than a cinnamon roll, which again sounds a little bit cheesy, but it is. The people are everything in this business. We wouldn't be here without the customer. We wouldn't be here if the customer didn't also love what they were buying and wanted to share what they were buying.
Self-promo time.
Plug. Any plugs?
Plugs. Anything you want to share, like hey, this is where you find me, this is where I go, this is where we are.
You can find me on Instagram at DoughLadySLC. We post a lot of behind the scenes, gooey videos. I think it's fun to follow, but I also run it. So follow us there, but you'll see different flavors that we have coming up. We do a rotating menu, so you'll see new flavors every month. You'll see kind of the behind the scenes of the creation of those. And you can find us in Mill Creek, our storefront. It's 3362 South, 2300 East. We're in the same parking lot as Provisions. It's a little tucked away, but come and find us. We're open Wednesday through Sunday.
And for those of you who are not Utah listeners, too bad. You're going to have to come visit
I'm
if you
so
want.
sorry. Maybe we're going to figure out shipping. That is another
Yes.
crazy endeavor, but
Oh,
maybe one
man.
day.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome, actually. Get
Come
some
skiing
shipping.
and come to the parks and
Exactly.
then go to the Dough Lady.
No, exactly. Actually, it's funny because people tell us when they come in, they say, we just flew in and you are the first destination for us.
Oh, cool.
wow.
It's the nicest thing I've ever heard in my whole
Honestly,
life.
I
Yeah.
can't even imagine. That
No,
sounds
people
like
are so nice. A lot of people from out of state do come. Social media reaches far. Social media is a weird world.
It
is
is
weird.
so weird.
We're
It's
grateful
so
for
odd.
it. It's how this business has been built, but it's a weird, wild place. But yeah, come
So
and see us.
Instagram is your main platform?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
Instagram. We're on TikTok. I'm still figuring out how to use TikTok. I think I'm the wrong generation to figure it out, but
AI. Just use AI.
I'm so confused.
But
But yeah, you can find it. You know what? Follow us on TikTok. I'm gonna get that up and going.
Yeah, what's your TikTok?
Yes.
Is it just the Dough Lady?
Dough Lady SLC.
Dough Lady SLC. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Okay. And then your website.
DoughLadySLC.com. We
Okay.
don't do a ton on our website.
Sure.
We used to do that because we had pre-orders.
Oh, right.
It'll just give you general information and
Like
say,
where to find you.
follow me on Instagram, because that's where all the information comes. So
Okay.
really Instagram is the biggest way. And you can DM me at any time. I will answer any question. But just Google when we're open. You don't have to DM me that.
Don't ask me.
DM during working hours.
I can't tell you how many DMs I get of people. When are you open? Oh,
You're like, it's
right
right
there.
there.
It's right there.
Just have a screenshot you just keep
Yeah.
sharing with them.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining us. We loved your insight.
Thank you
Lots
for
of really
having me.
interesting things, and what a wonderful story to hear about how you provided such a great product and love, warmth, and gooiness to everyone.
Thank you. It was fun.
I want a cinnamon
having
roll
me.
now.
I know. We'll get you some. Don't
Yes.
worry. Yeah, I got you.
Cool. Thanks, Amy.